cricket world. Now the rule seems coming to an...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 32 of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I'm your co-host, Mashal St. Patrick Hewitt, and with me as ever, my partner in crime, Santoki.
Yep, Santoki here. I'm Mashal. It's been a tough month for West Indies fans after that series in New Zealand, but I'm looking forward to the interview we have today. We've got a guest who's played for the West Indies across all three formats and has been destructive on a first-class level. So, Mash, if you want to introduce the guest to the listeners.
Yeah. So today, we're doing something new today. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast via your headphones or your earphones, you can't see the visuals, but we're trying some visuals out today. So those who are watching this via YouTube, when it drops, you can see that the individual we have with us today is former West Indian and Jamaica cricket stalwart, Nikita Miller. Now, I'd like to think that if you're a West Indian fan, Nikita doesn't need any introduction, but let me do the introduction anyway. 538 first-class wickets at an average of 16. No one in the Caribbean has surpassed that. I don't think anyone will ever surpass that particular total by Nikita. But we've got a great of the domestic game with us today. And as Santoki said at the top, we're fresh off a 2-0 defeat for the West Indies in New Zealand. And lots of you have been messaging us on the podcast saying, what is wrong with West Indies domestic cricket? Why is it that we can't get players at the international level who can thrive, particularly with the bat? And we thought, you know what? Let's speak to someone who knows the domestic game inside out. Nikita's career went on for maybe close to 19 years before Nikita retired last year. And he's now a coach for the Jamaica Scorpions. He's just off a winning spell with the Knight Riders in CPL, as well as assistant coach. But let me not do all the talking. Let me hand over to our guest. Nikita Miller, are you there?
I'm here. Thanks for having me. And, thanks for your viewers. I'm here. Hopefully, we'll have a good talk.
Indeed. We're hoping you're going to drop some gems on us today, Nikita. But
you know what?
Go on, Santoki, go.
I was going to say, let's get into it, Nikita, because this is interesting. Because obviously, Clive Lloyd in the 1970s, he famously ditched the spinners and went for a pace attack. So Michael Holding, Andy Roberts, and West Indies have kind of become famous for that pace bowling. As a young man growing up in Jamaica in the 80s, early 90s, what attracted you to spin bowling?
I can't really point my finger on it really as to what, the case was. I was spotted playing Carib cement cricket in my neck of the woods. That is, I don't know if you guys know, or in your era, it was all-age school. They had an all-age primary school competition. And the coach would just put together a team. And you would try out for the team, and whatever you're good at, really, you moved on. So it wasn't really someone I saw playing and I liked what they were doing and started bowling spin. It just happened, really.
Who were kind of your early influences in cricket, like across the world? Who did you kind of, as your career developed as a spin bowler in that young age, who did you look at for kind of influence?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't really look up to somebody for influence. I really liked, our history, our West Indies history. And I would say I'm someone who was a student of the game. I followed our rich history, our players from back in the day up to now. So I was always proud when I proud of our performances, playing against international oppositions, from the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, and even further back from George Headley days. I did a lot of research on the guys before, when they played, and I focused mainly on the guys from Jamaica. I was really interested in those who played for the West Indies from Jamaica, because back in those days, traveling around wasn't so easy. And I remember also that captains, you used to have the captains from the particular country that the game is being played. So stuff like those I picked up over the years, just researching and the best performers would really stand out, in my mind, and those guys would really influence what I do. I would probably not, fashion my cricket, but just look at the mentality they had and just, try to build myself in that way. So I didn't really have a spinner or one individual that, I really looked up to, or who, I idolized really.
Indeed. And I think, Nikita, I read an article that you were actually a footballer though when you were when you were growing up. So was it how at what age did you decide I'm going definitely for cricket, and when did you drop the football, or have I got it wrong?
All right, so same primary, all age school. I actually played football for the school first. Actually played one game, so I wouldn't say that I had a football career, at school, but I was pretty decent. I was able to move fast. I could get past a player, whatever, good control, so on and so forth. So I was a ball player then, if that makes sense. I could play. Once it's a ball, I'd be able to play it. Back in those days, you'd play multiple sports. In the 80s, coming up. So, 80s, 90s, you'd play multiple sports. Football is playing, you're in it. Anything that has to do with a ball, I was able to manage myself. But I really loved the football, and I wanted to play football first, but I got a lot of injuries. It's like playing in my community. I got a lot of injuries. And my mom told me that, listen, I don't have enough money to take it to the doctor all the time. So, listen, stick to cricket because you're getting too much injuries from football. Because I was a small guy. I was younger coming up. And, when I went to high school, very famous school in Jamaica in terms of cricket, St. Elizabeth Technical High School,
Yes,
I call it Stets.
Yeah, Stets, yeah.
A former national coach, Junior Bennett, was the coach at the time. And I was going to play football. I went to try out for the team, and he told me that, listen, no, you're not playing any football, you're playing cricket. So from that time, I didn't really, play any more football, apart from just, for fun.
So we've had Brandon King on when Brandon was playing for Guyana in CPL. We spoke to Brandon, and I think Brandon made his way through the system by going to Mona and then got picked up through like the kids cricket and so on and so forth. But how did you get yourself into the Jamaica setup from high school?
All right. So as I mentioned, the high school I went to was very prominent in cricket, and won a lot of schoolboy titles. I played a competition that was put on by the local authorities, Caribbean Cement, sponsored by Caribbean Cement company, and that was a very popular competition in Jamaica between all age schools and primary schools, and later on in prep schools. Right, the Scotiabank Kiddies cricket. Brandon would have come through, so. But I started there, and I was recognized or identified by Junior Bennett, and I went to Stets, and I played for Stets for a number of years, about 6 years, and did well. But I didn't play any. I went to under 15 trials. Went through all the about 160 boys, and I made it up to the 9-team squad, and then I got cut. A guy came in one day, and very interesting story too. The guy came in one day. Right, I was in camp too. Sorry to be segueing a little.
No, go for it.
The guy came in for one day. He played Senior Cup the weekend, and he came into camp the Monday. But he played for a Senior Cup team, and he got 6 on the weekend. We didn't know anything about the guy. He came. I don't know what to tell you. I was at the gate that morning. He came up and he asked me, "Where is the trials?" No, I don't know the guy. I didn't even know the guy was a left-arm spinner. Nothing. The guy came there, asked me where. I said, it's right here. Just stay here and wait. The bus is going to come about 8 o'clock, take us to the ground. Lo and behold, the guy stayed there through my instructions. He went to the ground where we were. Both 6 balls, I made the team, and I got cut.
So who was that guy, though?
It was Philip Keaton, just a left-arm spinner. He played under 19 cricket.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he played under 15.
Yeah.
That year, he got the most wickets, so they were vindicated. I mean, it was the right decision at the time. On the flip side, I went to a club in Jamaica now that is very famous. Courtney Walsh, Mikey Holden, and so
Melbourne?
Melbourne Cricket Club.
Yeah.
So that's my club. I was scouted pretty much from I was playing with Stets, and the manager at the time, he was the national selector as well. He came by a semi-final match I was playing for Stets in Headley Cup cricket, that he used to call it. George Headley, name after George Headley. And I scored 79 runs and took about 5 wickets and so on. And he told me to come to Melbourne. I was very skeptical because I was leaving school probably next year, but I was heading to Kensington. I lived close by Kensington, so I was planning on going to Kensington. Because at the time I wasn't working, didn't have enough money to take bus every day, so I was like, Kensington is walking distance from where I was staying with my family.
Oh.
So the coach at the time came to me and said, I told the coach, I'm not going to Melbourne because they have about 3 left-arm spinners there. I won't be getting in the game. And I live in East Kingston, so Kensington is close by. He said to me that, do you know that he's the national selector? And he came to your game and told you to come to this club. That is a no-brainer. You listen to me, you go to that club.
Yeah.
Listen to him, went to the club, played a couple of years, did well and thing, and I went to trials. Now, funny enough, the same guy that I told you got my game, or I wouldn't say got my game, but I told, and he got the game ahead of me. He was at the trials as well. He was there before me because naturally in Jamaica, once you play under 15, under 19, it's a natural transition into the national program. So he was there. I went to the trials. So I was up against him now at the senior level. And the rest is history, as you know. I aced it pretty much. First trial game I played, it was a 1-day trial. About 10 overs for 8 runs and got 2 wickets. The rest is history. Really.
The rest is in. Santoki, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I think you made your Jamaica debut, was it 2004?
2004,
in white ball. So kind of who were your early influences coming into that Jamaica side? I think Gareth Rees was the captain.
He was the captain at the time. He was very, helpful. Somebody that looked out for me or the younger guys coming in the squad because he was a senior man at the time, captain obviously, and he would protect me even during games. As a captain, he would kind of put me in situations that wouldn't expose me too much as a young player. So he was one of those who was really helpful coming up.
But you're sorry, Santoki, I'll jump in. Sorry, you're that group of players that Santoki's talking about that you make your debut with. So I had to go back and remind myself because essentially you were in the team when Chris would have been there, Wavell was there, Darren Powell, Marlon Samuels, Carlton Board, Dave Burt. All of those players went on to play for West Indies. So when you debuted for Jamaica, that was a strong outfit you were debuting for.
100%. Very strong. And at that time, most of those guys' names that you mentioned played already for the West Indies, had played already. So, it was really a strong outfit. You had young, what's his name? Myself, Washington.
Yes, yeah.
Washington and Xavier Marshall made their debuts. Dancer Hyatt, I think, made a debut at the same time, 2004. But yeah, Darren Paul, he was West Indies player already. Jerome Taylor was West Indies player already. I think, I can't remember if Jermaine Lawson played that time, but he was already a West Indies player. So you have have those guys around waving lines. You have, as you say, Carlton Barr. You had Marlon Samuels. You have Chris Gale. You know, a lot of big name players at the time. You know, so it was really an experience. Garrett Breeze was there as well. You know, so it was really an experience, and one I I relished and really enjoyed. Really, you know, it was really good.
And I call those names, Nikita, because, and this, I have to be careful here, because this isn't to disparage the current crop of players that play regional. But when you debuted in regional, everybody was still playing regional cricket.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
You're now a coach of regional cricket. How do I phrase it? Was the standard higher? So what we're talking 15 years ago. Was the standard higher because of the quality of player, or was the standard higher because of the quality of pitches? Do you see where I'm trying to come from here?
The standard of the pitches is always it all comes down to the players. So if you have poor pitches or good pitches, good players will adapt to the pitches they're playing on. You know what I mean? This is not to say that you go there and you play, you prepare bad pitches or below standard pitches. I believe back then the pitches were still good enough to score a lot of runs on, because a lot of runs used to be scored, back then as well. But I believe the fact that most of the West Indies players at the time was participating in first class cricket, so obviously that the competition level was higher, because these guys were playing against top ranked players around the world, and they would bring that experience back to first class cricket. And as a young player coming up, you're coming up against a Ridley, a Carl Hooper. I didn't catch all of Carl Hooper's and Brian Lara's time, because they would have been on tour sometimes. Brian stopped playing in 2007, and I started in 2004. But at the time, he didn't play a lot of regional cricket. But you had the likes of Sarwan was still playing, you had Chris was still playing, you had Weaver was still playing, you had all even what's his name, Philo Wallace, and those guys were still playing. All the other guys from around the region. You had Stuart Williams was still playing. And he was a difficult guy to bowl to in the regional cricket. You know what I mean? And all that. I remember coming up, when I made my first class debut, right, in 2005, the following season, you had Ridley playing for Leewoods. You had Stanford playing for Leewoods. You had Kerry Jeremy playing for Leewoods. You had Amari Banks. You had Renaka Martin, you had Sylvester Joseph, you had Stuart Williams, Ridley Jacobs. All those guys were still playing for us. That team was a very strong team, and all the other teams had really strong competition back then. So I believe the standard depends on the players that are playing, not necessarily pitches.
Okay, so you'd make your debut 2004, 2005 for Jamaica. Now, between 2007 and 2011, 12, Jamaica won 5 in a row. Was it 5 I think we won 5 or 4 in a row. I can't remember, of the first class championship. Now, again, I make a parallel here. So I'm Jamaican, Santoki is Guyanese. Now, Guyana also have had a period where they won. What was it, Santoki? 4 in a row that Guyana won.
Yeah, 4.
So Jamaica won 5 in your career.
Guyana won 5 as well.
Guyana won 5. So Santoki and I were talking earlier today, funny enough, because that Guyana team that won 5, not many of those players then made it to West Indies selection. That Jamaica team that won 5, quite a lot did. But when you were winning 5, again, thinking about quality, did you think the 5 reflected the fact that Jamaica were just, of course they were stronger than everyone else, they won, but was the quality of competition, did you consider the quality of competition, was it competitive enough, or do you think it was
very competitive? Very competitive. I remember back in that time period, you still had Shiv playing for Guyana, right? Sarwan at times. You had Barbados where you had Dwayne Smith and not saying that they're high quality first class players, but you always had a strong team on the park. If they're not playing for the West Indies, but most of the teams were still competitive.
Yeah.
Right, when you look at it. But I would still say, right, if you compare the standard of competition before that, I would still say it was still a little bit higher, but it was still at a high level at that time, because you still had, in that period, Pollard came out and made about 4 centuries in first class cricket in that time. In that time, so you had Ramdin, who was still playing first class cricket. You had Simmons, who was still playing first class cricket. You know what I mean? Trinidad had a strong. You had Dillon sometimes who were still playing. We played at finals against Merv Dillon in Barbados, where we won 2011. So you still had good competition. You know, in those days, we played at finals against Ridley Jacobs, who, you know, down by Alpart. We had them on the ropes and we checked out of the hotel, right? Without the game, you know, we were ahead by some distance. We said, "No, this game is going to be over today." And Ridley was saying, "You know, guys, are you serious? What you doing? 100 and something." Ridley scored. We had to check back into the hotel. But the game ended the next day. You know what I mean? So, and this was all in that same period. So I believe the standard was still at a good level. I believe just the way we played, and you know, we had a special bond as a team, because the team that won 5 straight, came up through under 15. Through the years, most of the core of that group played from under 15 together, under 19, and under 23. They had an under 23 team at the time as well. And all they played together right through the ranks. So, and the coach, interestingly enough, the coach that won the 5 straight, he was the coach from under 15 days.
Right.
So he was the coach under 15, under 19, and right up to the senior team. So when he got the team, some of those guys were still playing, but he got the team with most of those core players, and he worked his magic, and we were really good. You know.
Santos, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I guess it's just that consistent development. But before we move on to your West Indies career, if we look at, as Michelle mentioned at the top of the show, for Jamaica, 538 wickets in first class competition. I think you've got the best ever figures in West Indian regional cricket, 9 for 41 against Trinidad in 2016. You've numerous seasons where you were leading wicket taker. A popular question we got from our listeners was basically, so yourself, Veersamy Permaul, Bishu, Shillingford, Suleiman Ben, across islands, they've been leading wicket takers throughout the past 10 or so years. So listeners want to know, why has there been such a shift in spin becoming dominant in West Indies regional cricket within the last 10, 15 years?
One, I really don't know what the factor is. I mean, one factor could be the pitches, in that, you know, for a long period in the back end of my career, you had a lot of, I would say, substandard pitches. You know, it didn't really offer a great deal to fast bowlers. Didn't really encourage fast bowling a lot of the times. Yeah, you could name a couple of pitches that, you know, when fast bowlers turn up on those grounds, they're like, okay, I can do my thing here today. You had Jamaica, you had Barbados, and you had St. Lucia. You know, those grounds. When you go to Guyana, when you go to Trinidad, at the Queen's Park or at the Providence, you're not encouraged really as a fast bowler. You know, so I figure the pitches could be a factor, as well as it could be a case where the fast bowlers weren't really good enough at the time, you know, in that period, or the spinners were so dominant that, you know, they didn't get enough opportunities to bowl because the spinners were doing so well. And as a team, when you're looking to win a game, you're going to go for the guy that is going to get people out. You know what I mean? You don't have the time to develop a fast bowler or fast bowlers. You want to get people out. You want to win matches, so you're going to bowl your spinners. And it shifted when you're playing Guyana, trust me, sometimes when you play against Guyana, and as I would go back to the 5 straight, when I compare, and this I might be a little bit biased on things. When you look at the 5 year straight and you compare the two teams, there are some grounds that the Guyana will go and they will draw. They'll play against Barbados. They hard to beat Barbados in Barbados. You can never beat them in Guyana.
Yeah, I'm here for the slandering of Guyana. Slander them.
Right? But when you compare Jamaica's 5 year straight, we went everywhere and we won. And interestingly, a lot of people don't really know this. In that same period, we won 15 games straight outright. 15. Not draw.
Yeah.
15. That's a record today. No team in the Caribbean has ever done that. So I believe that was very impressive as well.
So as Michelle said earlier, obviously with the Guyana Jaguars team that won 5 in a row, a lot of players didn't make the step up to West Indies international level. And when they did, like Leon Johnson, Vishal Singh, Chandrika, they didn't perform well. Do you think it was just because their title credentials were based on them winning at home and they weren't able to perform away from Guyana? Do you think that's the main factor then?
I mean, I don't want to downgrade their success, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to disrespect in any way. But when you look at it, the facts are there. When you look at when let's not even go to West Indies level. When they play on tracks that have pace in regional cricket, they struggle, right? Especially in the early parts, right? When they're in Guyana, they know that it won't bounce too high, or it won't, you know what I mean? So they're very comfortable and they're on top of you, and you can't get the better of them. You know what I mean? Not saying that you have individuals who performed on those tracks, yes, and still beat teams.
Yeah.
As they got better over the years, they would improve and they would play better on the tracks that are bouncing. But then to make that transition to the next level, because they get so used to playing on slow, low tracks. When you go to the international level, you're getting faster bouncing tracks, so it's a lot more difficult to deal with. You know what I mean? Look at a guy named, what's his name? This is Vishal Singh.
Yeah, Vishal.
He would score runs at regional level, and you couldn't get him out. But the faster man that is sailing across here, he would find himself a bit wanting. You know what I mean? So, but respect has to go out to them for their achievements, and it's still a feat, because to win 5 titles in a row, you can't really downplay that really. So kudos to them and congratulations to them as well.
That's really interesting, your insight. And as Michelle said, this is why we wanted you on the pod, to give your insight to someone who's had experience of regional cricket for such a long period. So if we look at your own transition though to West Indian cricket, you made your ODI debut 2008. On debut, you got the wicket of Michael Clarke, LBW. How did you find the step up to West Indies international level? Were you prepared by having such a strong Jamaica team?
Yeah, I was definitely prepared. It felt like cricket. It just felt like normal cricket to me. I didn't see it as a this big step, and you have to be on your game. I saw it as another cricket match. I was never nervous, surprisingly. When I walked out, there's something that I don't know, some cricketers can probably relate to. If I'm playing in front of a crowd of, say, 20,000 or more, when I walk across the line, it's as if I'm not here in the crowd. I don't know if other players can relate to it. Once I walk across the rope and I start, especially if I'm bowling, I'm hearing it, but it's like it's very silent. Can't really explain it, I can't really simplify it enough for you. You probably would have to, be in that situation to know. And I think I heard Smith said it the other day. A lot of times when he walks out to bat, he doesn't really hear. Some people were saying that, you heard the guy saying this and that. He's like, he was like, no, I didn't hear it, because, he kind of zone out. So I didn't really find it that big of a step to go up. I was nervous. If you look at my record for West Indies, it's not great, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
With the opportunity, and I played 50 games, 50
Yeah.
one-day games in 10 years. So do that math. That math, that's how much. If you're good at math, you can tell me each year.
Yeah, of course. And I think one thing that strikes me about let's talk, if we just focus on white ball, I always felt that you never got a real consistent run in the side. And sport is, no matter what sport you're playing, we're talking about cricket, but it could be any sport. A player gains confidence by knowing they are playing and that there is a clear belief in them. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. Your white ball record is by no means bad. Yes, I'm sure you would have wanted it to be better, but it's not a bad record by any stretch of the imagination. But you know what the elephant in the room is, because this is my issue. From 2011 to 2017, you took the most wickets in first-class cricket. So four times in like 6 years, you took the most wickets. You were pretty much consistent from 2007-8 onwards anyway. And I want the genuine answer, Nikita. Why did you only play one test from your perspective? And even that one test you played was the one when the players went on strike with the Bangladesh tour at home. So obviously you represent West Indies. I'm never going to take that away from you. But do you understand what I mean when I say you didn't even get the call up the way you should have got the call up? Now, I've never understood how someone can win leading wicket taker over and over and over again, and they can't even get a one call. Not even a one call. No, not even a one call to play a test match. And this morning I was racking my brain going, but who was playing instead of Nikita? Who was putting up the performances that meant Nikita couldn't get in the side? But really and truly, I couldn't find anyone. I couldn't find anyone that was putting up numbers that said, this is why Nikita can't get a chance. And funnily enough, if I even use Santoki now, Sammy is now doing what you were doing. He's putting up the numbers after numbers after numbers, but he can't get a call. So Nikita, try explain that to me about. And it's not about bearing a grudge against anyone, but why do you genuinely think that never happened for you?
I am being honest right here, right? I am not sure what the exact answer is because I wasn't given an explanation. So I'm guessing. When I started playing, probably about second year in my West Indies one-day career, I was told by the selectors that I'm pretty much seen as a one-day bowler. Oh, right. I didn't when the selector said it to me, some good probably 12 years ago or so, a long time ago. Early, and I think it was Clive Butts was the chairman of the selectors at the time when I started. I was told that call in a room because I was doing well at first class cricket at the time. I was getting selected for 50 overs, but I couldn't understand why I wasn't being selected for the test matches as well. I didn't question anybody because that is not my style. You beat me. My job is to go on the park and play, and you're the selector. You do your job. So I don't question you, right? They call me in a room. It seemed as if persons were asking questions, or the media was asking why is this guy not in the team. So they called me in a room. I didn't know. I didn't ask for a meeting. They called me and said, Nick, I want to talk to you. Give me a minute. You've been selected, and they told me that I've been selected for a one-day tour. Ting. I don't want you to think that, test cricket is, off the agenda for you, but we see you as a one-day bowler for now, and, you're more suited for that version for now. Obviously, as a young man, probably my second year of playing, I'm not going to question it. I'm playing for West Indies still, so I just say, okay, cool, thanks, and I'm out of the room. I mean, I've heard some shouts about me being disruptive. I'm like, okay, that's new for me. When I was around there, I didn't hear that, but I heard it on different platforms. But the question I ask is, if I was so disruptive, why would they play me in 50 international one-day games? So it's a strange one. And those tours normally coincide with, the test. So it's like either the test plays before the one-dayers or the one-dayers play, before. And, you'd still go on tour and you'd still be there in a group. So if I'm disruptive, then why am I not disruptive in a one-day game or a one-day tour? But I blow that out because I've never been in a disciplinary meeting, so that has no grounds really to stand on. So I every time I hear it, I kind of smirk or smile because there's no truth to it really. But that's the best answer I could give you in terms of why I wasn't selected for Test cricket. I mean, some of the coaches that came along didn't see. I don't think Clive Light saw me as good enough to play Test cricket. I that's just my belief because he liked Ben.
Right. Yeah.
I strongly believe that. I wasn't. I think what's his name from England, from Barbie. He born in Barbados, but he played in England. What's his name?
Otis Gibson. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard. I don't know how true it is. I heard he said that I don't take anybody's hand. So I guess it was just preference, really, for the coach. And these things are normal in sports. As a coach, you'll have your preference. You'll have certain traits and skills that you look for in a bowler or a player, a batsman, whatever it is. In any sports, football as well. And probably I was just a victim of that. The coaches that came didn't really, fancy the way I played. But such is life. I'm not regretful of my career really. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I believe it was a success. So whatever is done is done. I have no grudge against any of the selectors or the coaches. When I see them, I still greet them just the same.
So linking to, I mentioned his name just before you answered. So then linking to, and this is just to make Santoki feel good, linking to Sammy Permol then, like I said like about 5 minutes ago, he's now doing what you were doing, which is top of the charts. What? Not that you can comment on another player, but as a spinner looking at another spinner and he's topping the charts, do you think he deserves a call similar to how you deserved a call?
My viewpoint is, if you have a first class competition, if you have a competition that you use to pick your side or you use as qualification for any version, whether it be the Super 50 that qualifies you for one-day cricket, is it 4-day cricket, regional CWI 4-day cricket qualifies you for Test cricket, and you have an individual that is dominating that competition, must be given an opportunity, right, to do, even if that individual have been, has gotten chances before and have not delivered. If he's dominating your local competition, right, he must be given an opportunity, right? Give him the opportunity. You do it with seamers. You do it with batsmen, right? So why not do it with spinners?
Yeah.
I just believe it's our history, our rich history with pace bowling or seam bowling. And listen, we've had success with it, and I believe it. If you're going to be a successful international team, you need to have good, strong, seamers or fast bowlers. But conversely, you need a spinner who can, or quality spin bowlers who can, get into your side and give that side the balance that it needs. Sometimes you need to rotate your bowlers, your seam bowlers, and that spin option can give you something different because you're gonna play on different pitches around the world.
Yeah.
Right. So just having all over right now, we're just depending on our seamers. Yeah, we have spinners there on tour, but you're not using them. right? Sometimes you use them and they don't perform. And this is the thing. You'll give a seam bowler or a fast bowler time to sail. You'll give a seam bowler time to perform, to learn his craft, but you don't give the spinner the time to learn his craft at the international level. And remember, we don't have a rich history of spin bowlers playing at or performing at the international level. So you need time for them to grow. You have to give them opportunities. What if Shane Warne was dropped after his first couple of games for Australia? What if Mikey was dropped after his first game for West Indies? Right? What if I could call up a lot of spin. Daniel Vittori. When you look at what's his name? Rangana Harriet.
Yeah.
A lot of, apart from the special one, a lot of those guys, when they started out, they needed time to perform. Rangana got dropped and then came back and did pretty well in the latter stages of his career. So I don't think we believe in spin bowling. We don't take the time. Probably we don't, as captains, we don't know how to use spin bowlers. You know, on a grand scheme, we don't believe, and because our society or we love seam bowlers so much, they come under so much pressure when a spinner come in and doesn't get the job done right away. He's out of there. And he's not given the opportunity to grow. It might happen for 1 or 2 or 3, but oh gosh, you know, give the guy the opportunity to have a go at the international level again. He might be much more mature, much more understanding of his bowling now because he's older. And we all know that spinners, as they get older, they get better. You know. So give the guy a go, man. If he's doing the business at this level or at a regional level, give him the chance. That's what I believe.
I guess you could draw parallels with Jermaine Blackwood. Obviously, he's a batsman, but a similar thing. Got dropped from the team, scored the runs at regional level, and now he's come back and he's flourished for West Indies this year. So that's a good example.
Yeah.
Santosh, do you want to go into CPL?
Yeah. Okay. Actually, before that, Nikita, since we talked about your 50 ODI caps, it'd be interesting to know what has been your personal highlight in terms of a memorable game or memorable performance for West Indies in white ball cricket.
All right, so there's 2 that stands out, you know, regardless of where I go. I always remember these 2 performances. I played against Australia in Joburg, you know, and I took 2 wickets for 20-something runs, probably 25 or 23 in that region from 10 overs. It was a Champions Trophy game. I got Cameron White out, and I think I got Ricky Ponting out. And, you know, I was on that day. It was really, really a top spell, I believe. You know, I think I left Ricky down the pitch and Cameron got bowled. I was on, you know, so that was really a special spell for me. And also against New Zealand in New Zealand, not the last time, I think it's the last time I toured there. We draw the series 2-2. This was a crucial game for us to know. You know, we would have lost the series 3-1, or we draw the series 2-2. We scored about 361 around. That was our highest total at the time. Bravo was the captain. So after we scored that total, and New Zealand was pretty much a big, you know, they were performing really well. They went on to make the World Cup finals, you know, probably a year after that, or probably a couple of years after that, right? I was on the field. I can't remember exactly the ground, but we're in the huddle, and there was a short side. So the skipper Bravo we got a wicket and we're in the huddle, and he was worrying about who's going to bowl at the short end, and you know, because he didn't want to bowl around that side because it's an off spinner, and it would be an easy hit to hit him in the, and the breeze was going that side as well. So, you know, the breeze was blowing to the shorter side. Off spinner would be bowling, you know, on that side. So it would be a no really. Right? So he looked around and like, who am I going to bowl at this end? And I said to him, listen, skipper, give me the ball, man. I bowl from that end. You don't have to bowl me down. Just bowl me down that end. Because after the game, he was like, killer, what was that? I grew up at Melbourne. And Melbourne is what we call a spoon. A very small ground.
Yeah. So
I'm pretty much experienced in bowling on small grounds. I think there's one in Barbados too, what you call Carlton. Very small. Very, very small, So I bowled about 10 overs for about 40 something runs and got 4 wickets. So, we won the game. And I got, McCullum out. I got Ross Taylor out. I got Luke Ronchi out. And I think I got what's his name? Kane. I think I had a Kane Williams or somebody else. Right. So those two were really just, the standout performances for West Indies for me, really, with the ball. With the bat, I scored at my only 50 against Pakistan. Aymar and his friends, goal.
Yeah.
Umar, goal.
Yeah.
At Joburg, the same that same competition, but different team.
Yeah.
I scored 50 something runs after we were like 20 something for 7. Myself and Sammy put on a partnership, and we got to something like 100 and something runs eventually on the back of my half century. So those were my standout performances for West Indies. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. And you mentioned there, funny enough, you mentioned you took Brendan McCullum's wicket against New Zealand, and he's someone you've been working with this past summer as a coach at Trimbago Knight Riders, a massively successful franchise. You've been there working as a spinning coach. They've obviously had a lot of spinners there. Akil Hussain, Kari Pierre, Fawad Ahmed. This year they had Pravin Tambe as well, the veteran spinner. What was your experience like coaching at CPL with such a successful franchise and coaches such as Brendan McCullum?
Oh, it was a wonderful experience. It was something new for me, but I wasn't, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't really wondering what I was going to expect in a sense, because I played at the franchise before. I played like 3 years there. 3 successful years because we won 2 titles, when I was playing there. So I played with Brendan there and a lot of the local guys as well. So it was pretty much a franchise I knew about. Yes, I didn't know what to expect as a coach in terms of how Brendan worked as a coach as well. But we had a good relationship as players together. After games we would hang out when we were playing. So, I knew the guy really well. But I was surprised as to how, good he was in terms of organizing and allowing individuals to grow, allowing you to express yourself in your role and just to grow as a coach. He really he didn't micromanage, which was really good. He gave you a role and he allowed you to do your job. And obviously we'd have meetings and we would have discussions and so on. And really and truly, I really enjoyed the experience, and I believe I learned a lot. Even from the captains, Bravo and Pollard. Those really were the leaders of the team, and just the way they held the team together was really exemplary. And you see how Bravo was my captain at the West Indies level as well for a period, and that TKR for a period as well. And I don't think I played under Pollard, but just the way he managed and held the team together was really, really good. And those guys were the real reason why that team was really a championship team. So it was really a great experience, and it's something now I'm taking on board. I've taken on board, and I'm using it as I work here in Jamaica.
Nikita, how did you get the job though for TKR?
Brendan McCullum called me up and asked me to come on and fill in, because they had an assistant that couldn't make it,
Mm.
and they called me to come and fill that void. Really,
Excellent.
Brendan. Yeah.
And then so with the Scorpions, obviously you retired last year, so you've been working with the Scorpions now, assisting Andre Cooley. What's the transition been like? I know obviously we just spoke about TKR, but what's the transition been like for you? Because a lot of the players you now coach, you would have been playing with for what, the last 10 years, some of them. So has that transition been difficult? Now you have to approach them in a different kind of way, or has it been natural for you?
I think it was seamless, really. I mean, yeah, in my latter stages of playing for Jamaica, I was like a really senior figure in the team. I was a captain, and guys would come to me for wise words of encouragement and so on and so forth. So, and I was aggressive sometimes with them, but at times I'd still give them the time to express themselves and to just be themselves. So for me, the biggest challenge for me was to make sure I didn't judge them based on my level, right? And that took some time, right? Because at times as a coach, as a player who performed at an elite level, it's easy for you to expect a first class player to be able to do certain things.
Yeah.
But that is coming from a place of experience and of high class or high level performance. They're just coming up. They're not at your level, so you can't judge them based on that. And a lot of times, even some of our great players, former great players, that you find that they're not as good coaches because they're so great. They don't know how to impart the knowledge, really. They don't know how to separate themselves from the ones that are below them in terms of performances. So my challenge was to understand that the players that I'm coaching or I'm working with, they're working to get to my standard or even higher. So I have to be at their level and take them through the levels. Walk them through it. Don't expect them to be able to bowl 6 ball in this little era here.
Yeah.
Right away. It takes time. It took some time for me to get it, right? And it will take them time as well to get to that level. So it was just about understanding that you have to be patient with the guys. When it doesn't work, you don't throw your hand in and say, "Oh, come on," and listen. You keep driving them and keep telling them that, listen, keep going. Yes, you have to be aggressive from time to time. Also, because I was captain in the early part, I believe Coley helped me in this regard where I was still in that captain type of captain player type of mode. And it kind of helped me to understand that, listen, you're no longer the captain, you're the coach. So there are certain things that you have to draw back from.
Yeah.
He helped me in that way. So, kudos must go to him as well. Junior Bennett as well. Before Coley came in, I was working with the group. And Junior Bennett was there to take me through. He would give me my first couple of pieces of equipment, little stumps and so on, until I got to the stage where I could buy my own and so on. So he kind of walked me through. He's the one who actually asked me to assist him.
Yeah.
Junior Bennett. So he's the one who really introduced me right after playing. I was on the last month of my contract, my regional contract. And, he was there helping out because Coley was employed, but he didn't come until, he wasn't supposed to start until this September 1st.
Right.
So he said, listen, Killer, if you're available, just come and work with me. They call me Killer sometimes.
Yeah, we're going to ask you about that. Don't worry, we're going to ask you about
that. So he's the one who actually, helped me through that process. And the transition was really seamless. And I believe now I'm learning a lot more. The TKR experience was great for me as well. And the year I spent working with Coley was great as well, and even Junior Bennett. So I'm learning as I go. Hopefully I can, whenever the level 3 comes up, I'll be able to go and do that course. I'm at a level 2 now.
Santoki, jumping in.
Yeah, I guess if we look at the current West Indies side, so obviously they lost 2 big losses against New Zealand this month. Looking at it as a coach, how do you feel the side could improve at the moment, the current West Indies side? What needs to happen to particularly the batting order? How would we improve that?
No, first of all, I believe the mindset needs to change. We need to have dedicated players, right, who value the West Indies badge, who understands what it means to the West Indian people, right? That desire needs to come back within the group. I mean, everyone needs to contribute in this regard, from the management level to the board level to the players. Everybody has to play their part, right? No, if you're making a positive contribution, then the product will improve. So from a structural standpoint, put the things in place. Whatever structural change you need to make, right? You make those, put things in place so that the system can work. You have educated people in the Caribbean. You have people who can put together and know how to run a company or a company or an organization. We have enough people in the Caribbean who can put together a workable structure. And then you need the players to have the desire and have that real drive to represent West Indies. I don't think that as players in general, that desire is there. It could be the reason for it. It could be because at the board level, things are not, the relationship over the years haven't been good. That could be it. I don't know. I'm just saying. But everybody needs to come together for the greater good, right? Also, when you compare most of the successful international teams, they're playing their local competition. The so-called name players are playing in their local competition. You have to listen. If you're competing against some schoolboys or the regular first-class players every year, it's the same players. You will improve, but it will take a longer time. But if you're playing against quality opposition, I mean, you're playing against guys who are playing at the highest level. They're playing in IPL, they're playing all over the world, and they're in this setup, and you're learning from them. You will improve. It will force you to lift your level. If the level is 20, 25 average and 30, 35 bowling average and 25, 27 batting average, that's the level. Then you won't be pushed. You need the big players or the guys who have the ability to play and who are performing at the national level or the international level to play in the local even if you're not playing all the games, you must be there to play at least half the games or a little less than half the games, so that the guys who are there coming up can get real, competition from seasoned professionals. But we need to get that desire back. We need to give up something for West Indies cricket, and West Indies cricket as well as an organization need to give up something for the players as well. So it's a two-way street. So if you don't give me anything, naturally as an individual, you'll be reluctant as an individual to give back. But we need that desire as players to really represent our country and to represent it well. Educate everyone in the system, right, in their role. So if it is, listen, you have to give the individuals the tools to perform. You can't expect, okay, I pay you so you're on your own to go and get yourself up to the international standard. No, give them the tools. If they don't perform after you've provided the tools, then you have all talk, and you have all right to say and criticize them as you go. But you have to provide them the tool. Put the infrastructures in place. Make sure every country have an indoor facility, proper indoor facilities where they can perform in and out of season, right? We need to have something in place in the Caribbean where a guy who's called for for throwing can be rehabilitated here in the Caribbean. Why not? Why have to send them out on a big trip all over the world to get them sorted out? We must get up to standard with the world, get the technology up, train, what you call it, analysts.
Yeah.
Not just statisticians, analysts, people who can actually work out plans for the coaches, educate the coaches, give them and gradually, update them as you go, year by year, or every 2 to 3 years. Train every aspect. Your groundsmen.
Yeah.
You have to train them properly so that they know that they're all stakeholders. So if you mess up as a groundsman, then it affects me as the player. Yeah, and if the administrator messes up, it affects me as a player as well. And the player knows that he's going out there to face the brunt of the criticism. So he will then have to step up.
But Nikita, one thing I don't understand, and we interviewed Darren Bravo, maybe 2 weeks ago, I think, and one thing that we found difficult as cricket fans of the West Indies to understand, again, we go back to your era when you debuted, okay, so 2004. At that time, you had players like, so if we just look at the batting, Chris, average over 30 in international test cricket. Sarwan, average over 40, sorry. Chris, Sarwan, Shiv. Now we're struggling for players to average over 30. Now, even if I take yourself, so 538 wickets at 16. So, but you weren't playing when the facilities were any better.
No.
You did. So, what do you see what I'm trying to say? It can't just be as simple as. And you're right, by the way. I understand that everything needs to be improved. But then, why were there better performances 15 years ago?
I'll give you an insight. The individual players are different now. These guys are, listen, if you're a fan of football, right? Which I am a fan of football, right?
Yeah.
And you look at how players react now as against players even in the early 2000s. These guys are, how sometimes I look at it, are, you have to treat them a little different. You have to give them everything because things are, these guys don't take taxis or buses anymore. They're dropped at cricket. When I used to draw my bag and on a bus, right, and struggle through bus parks and so on and so forth. Majority of these players take up a key and drive to cricket. You have to remember also, in our time, or in my time, we used to get paid $100 and something, $250.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the drive or the inspiration was always to go to the highest level. In order to get to the highest level, you have to perform really, really good up against these guys at first class level. So you're always driven to be your best at the regional level because these guys were still playing at this level. Right? Now, a guy get a contract before he even plays for his country.
Yeah.
So these guys, their personality is different because they get things, I believe, a little easier than, say, my generation. Because access to a lot of things now is easier. So you have to provide them with a lot more than you used to have to provide, say, with me or my generation or before. So you have to when they take up their phone like this and they look, right? I'll give you an example. If there's a situation with, say, pay, or pay doesn't come on time, an individual now can take up his phone and call a guy or message a guy in the other country. Did you get paid?
Yeah.
And the information is there, right? A guy can take up his phone now and look and see that Sri Lanka is preparing this way, Australia is preparing this way. So why are we not preparing this way? And the attitude is different. So I believe you have to give them a lot more. You have to provide them with with a lot more now
Mm.
than back then. Those guys, they don't have certain things. They'll be like, okay, let's go and find somewhere down the park to train. If these guys don't have a pitch or whatever, no, they're not training.
I hear you.
So you have to provide them. It's just a a mentality change. I mean the culture is changing. The whole world is changing. And social media is a big part of that. So you have to change with the times. Yes, it's easy to say, oh well, Viv didn't have this or Amber didn't have that, but they still perform. But the motivation back then was a lot different.
Yeah.
So you have to move with the times. Provide them with the facilities, right? Be buying to technology. I'm sure they're doing so now, or they're looking to do so now. But provide them with all of that. But it comes down to the player having that desire.
Yeah.
Yeah, the desire has to be there. So regardless of you could provide them the world, if they don't have that desire to perform and to represent that shirt that is behind me there, right? If they don't have that desire, regardless of what you provide them, they won't. But what you'll find if you provide them with all the necessities, is that you'll find that more will come to the fore than not.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you have to drive that desire. That is you need that. You need that individual to have the pride in the colors behind me right there. You know what I mean? And give his all for the color. And be available when that team there call upon you.
So Santoki, I know you want to jump in, but let me go Jamaica specific here. So Nikita, we actually have, I was thinking about it today, there are actually so many Jamaican players currently representing West Indies across the formats of cricket. You got Nkrumah on the outskirts of the Test team. Jermaine Blackwood, obviously top run scorer in England, top run scorer in New Zealand. John Campbell, Sheldon, Brandon's in and about it. Fabian Allen, Rovman Powell, O'Shane Thomas, obviously Dre Russ. Chris may or may not reappear for the World Cup next year. But one thing I'm intrigued of, because you're working with the Scorpions, is I'm going to focus on, I could talk about many players. In fact, I'm going to focus on two in particular. So Santoki and I spoke to Brandon. We personally believe that West Indies, maybe not on purpose, certainly not on purpose. Brandon, I feel, has been messed up a bit because he's been called up to play as an opener when all of his time with the Scorpions he's been playing as a middle order batsman. And I feel that has now affected his career. I'm not, you may not want to comment on that, but I'm throwing him in there. And then secondly, I'd just be intrigued to see what your views are. John Campbell has come under huge scrutiny. Opening is difficult in the Caribbean. And John has come under huge scrutiny, but he's just come off the back of a battle in 68 in the last test. You would have worked with John, you would have captained John, you've seen John come up through the system. So I just want kind of your two comments on those two players in particular, or you may want to stretch further than that. Do you get that one?
Yeah. The internet connection was a bit poor just now, so I didn't get.
So sorry. So just your two comments on John and Brandon and where you see their games at, or you may want to expand on some of the other players as well.
Well, in terms of John, I've said it many times. John Campbell, I've said it many times that he's probably our best natural opener. Right? In terms of facing the quicker bowlers. Over the years, we've struggled. In recent times, we've struggled against quick, fiery, fast bowling. And last time we went to New Zealand, they peppered us. Can't remember the guy, Ambrose got hit on his hand, broke his hand.
Yeah.
And a lot of men got hit in, strange areas. This time around, we handled it really well. So, credit must go to the coaching staff or even the players themselves who really took it upon themselves to work on this area. John now, I believe, on the flip side of it now, he goes a lot at the ball.
Yes.
Especially the full ball. And in those conditions I've spoken about on different programs, you have to be a little more patient. You have to play closer to your body. You can't you can't play too far away from your body. Once you have that covered, once you have recognized this, then it's about discipline. It's about being patient and waiting on that. He did it, I think, twice.
Yeah.
Just before close of play one evening, where he faced about 60-something delivers, and when he scored his highest test score. So his thing for me is about consistency.
Yes.
Remember and register in your head what is required on a particular pitch to a particular bowler and execute it as much as possible. Practice. And you have to do a lot of, I believe he has to do a lot of mental training on his own, where he's managing his temperament, because they're just like you're driving, you have to speed up, you have to slow down. There's a stoplight, you have to come to a stop. You have to start over, stuff like that. So it's just managing his temperament. Sometimes when he's on the go, he doesn't, there's no pulling back. He's just on the go and he's going, But credit must go to him as well to get in a performance in the last test match. I was hoping it could have been a century, but I'm hopeful that he will build on that, seeing that he played against the number 1 ranked team going into this, coming out of that test match. And if they're not number 1, they're probably
they are
top 3. So, in terms of Brendan King, a talent as well. It's a similar situation where he goes at the ball as well. He's an aggressive player as well, but he has the talent. It just needs some more time. And this goes for John as well. You have to spend time in the middle, even if you're playing T20 cricket. Spending time in the middle is important. And it's okay. It's okay to start slow and build up. Take your time, because you have shots that you can make up in the end.
Yeah.
How about taking some singles, rotate the strike, until you're sweating.
Yeah.
And then you can have a go. The top international players, they do these things really, 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 really well. And we look at Kane, his innings, top innings, an example for us to build from, or to look and take pointers from. So these guys are talented guys, but they will have to improve quickly to stay at that level, and they have the ability to do so, and I believe they will.
Excellent. So, and Tolkien, I'll hand back to you. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess on our final few questions. So obviously West Indies have Bangladesh as the next assignment. It's going to be completely different conditions to New Zealand. A lot more reliance on spin. Assuming they're going to take at least two spinners in the side, which 2 spinners currently in the West Indies system would you pick for the side?
Well, because there wasn't any first class cricket. There haven't been any cricket since March. And you pretty much have to go with who is already there, I believe. It wouldn't be fair to whoever is involved in the squad and who were in New Zealand, especially in the A team and the test team. It must be somebody from that group. It can't be. Well, it wouldn't be wise to have somebody outside of that group. No, because I think they're going to travel like about the 20-something.
Yeah.
Or the 20th of January. It only spells sense that you go with somebody that is involved in that squad. I would go with Cornwall as well. Let's give the guy some time to get. He's a good bowler. Give him some time to work himself in, and he will perform. I'm sure, for the West Indies.
Indeed. So you wouldn't call Permal then?
Not at this time, because tell me what cricket Permal has been playing. I'm all for him getting his opportunity. I'm all for him getting his opportunity. Right? But if you call Permal for a tour to Bangladesh now, what information you have that Permal is on form? What cricket is he playing? Local cricket? I don't believe that you should take somebody from local cricket to go and play international cricket. So local, I mean like club cricket, like at your local level. Just use who you have. I mean, what's his name? Cornwall didn't get an opportunity in the test matches. So you have to give him a chance in subcontinent. Yes, probably you need to carry another spinner because you're going to the subcontinent. And I'm, in that regard, I'm not sure who else was on tour as a spinner. What's his name? Left arm spinner.
Warwickon?
Warwickon was on tour?
No, but he was on the last tour. He went in reserves on the last tour. So
I guess in that case, you would have to go with somebody who was as recent. But going forward, once cricket resumed, you have to give Permal his opportunity to have a go, I believe.
So I think, do you know what? In all of your answers, because we had lots of people get in touch with us, but in the course of everything that you've said, you've actually probably answered everybody's questions. I only have there's only the one question less, Santoki. But before I get to the final question of the show, Nikita, do just tell us though, because I actually don't know, why are you called Killer?
The bounty killer.
That's what I thought.
Jacob Killer Miller.
Yeah.
I was a DJ back in the days.
Yeah.
Call him Jacob Killer Miller.
Right. I thought it was
I got it from there, and
like
then I was a big fan of Bounty Killer as well, so it just stuck.
Yeah. No problem. So we have one final question, and you've been a brilliant guest, Nikita, of so much insight dropped on the show. So every guest we ever get on, we always ask them the same question at the very end, and I'll split it in two for you. So you can't say Sabina Park, by the way. You're not allowed to name your own country in the answer. What is the best ground in the Caribbean to play cricket at outside of your own? And what has been the best international ground you've played cricket at?
Outside of Sabina, Barbados. Kensington Oval. Kensington Oval. International ground. I would have to say Joburg, I'm sticking with that. I had my two best performances
there.
So I'm going with Joburg.
I
think it is.
Yeah. And actually, even though I said that was a final one, I realized that we asked Darren Bravo's question, so we should ask you as well. But we asked Darren Bravo who was the hardest bowlers to bat at, but actually we should ask you the opposite. Throughout your whole career, whether domestic or international, who did you find the hardest person to bowl at, where you thought they can continually figure you out, or you can't find a way to bowl at them that is effective?
I think it would have to be Mahalia and Sangakkara.
Jai Wooden and Sangakkara.
Why them? Talk me through your experience.
They would reverse sweep you, lap you, use their feet to you, so you didn't get an opportunity to settle.
Yeah.
So those for me were, really difficult players to bowl at. And right through my career in regional cricket, I didn't really tell anybody. I found it difficult to bowl to them. Even now, I still not telling them. I might. What if I come out of retirement? You never know.
Of course, there was no one difficult. You're the killer.
You're the killer, man. Come on.
Ranaka Martin.
Yeah.
Ranaka Martin was a challenge. Yeah, I only played against Ridley was difficult too. Yeah, he played funny, but he was a bit difficult. So reason I will be Ranaka Martin, Ridley, and to a lesser extent Stewie. I didn't play a lot against Stuart Williams, but he scored a lot of runs in the regional cricket. It was tough. You know,
well, Nikita, like I say, you've been
but none of these youngsters, man.
Well, we look forward to you coming out of retirement to prove the case yet again. But
no chance.
But Nikita, like I say, you've been a brilliant guest. It's been fantastic getting you on to get some insight about regional cricket, West Indies cricket, and everything. For those who are listening, we'll drop in the pod description and on YouTube where you can find Nikita. He's on YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. He's on Twitter, and we'll drop his Twitter address when we drop this pod as well.
On Instagram as well.
And on Instagram. Do go and follow Nikita. And when regional cricket resumes, we've got Super 50 coming up in February. So regional cricket is returning to the West Indies and the Caribbean in February. So do get on board and watch as the different teams come together in Antigua. I believe the tournament is going to be this year. So Nikita, thank you very much. Thank you everybody for tuning in to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. We've been your hosts, Mashel and Santoki, and that's good night from us.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rules